Hi, today we are going to make a piece of hair jewelry. And for that, I have 3 pieces of 20 gauge round silver plated wire. And these are cut at 6 inches. I have 28 gauge wire. And I don't know how long it will need to be. I'm going to leave it on the spool. I purchased this from an Etsy shop and this is the way it came. I have 6 4mm bicone crystals. You can use any size you want. And for tools, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to use today, but I do have a round nose plier, a chain nose, a wire cutter, and a file. Before we begin, I want you to know that I am a self-taught wire weaver. So what we're going to make today, I don't know if it's an actual weave or if it even has a name or whatever. It's just something that I came up with. Now, if you have a 3-wire weave that you prefer, go ahead and use that. So I'm going to begin with one of my pieces of 20 gauge wire. And with the 28 gauge, let's leave a little piece here to hold on to. Now we're going to wrap once, twice, and let's tighten these up. Make sure your wires are snug together. Now on this third wrap, let's go ahead and bring in another piece of 20 gauge wire. You're going to leave yourself some room at the top. Now we're going to wrap this second wire 3 times by itself. So this wrap is number 1. We're going to go in between the 2 wires, snug it up. That's 2. In between the 2 wires and snug it up. Now on this third wrap, we're going to bring in our last piece of 20 gauge wire, and we're going to repeat that process. So now on wire number 3, that's all we're wrapping on. So that's 1. Let me push these out so you can see what I'm doing here. Going to bring our 28 gauge between our last wire and our center wire. So that's wrap 2, and repeat that again for wrap 3. So we have wrapped 3 times around each of our wires. Let's snug these together. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, now let's repeat the process going down. I'm not going to go 3 times around this top wire again. You spread these apart so you can see. You don't really want your wires splayed out like this. This is just for you to see. So I've done the 3 wraps on our top wire. Now I need to do them on our center wire. So we're going to bring our working wire, our 28 gauge, in between our first and second wire. Then in between our center and top wire, or wire 2 and wire 3, for our first wrap. Let's repeat that. That's our second wrap. Don't know where my wire is. There we go. And our third wrap. Now on to the bottom wire, and we're wrapping just the bottom and nothing else. Now when we go for our third wrap on our bottom wire, it becomes the first wrap on our center wire. And what this weave does is it gives us like triangles. It's going to be triangles all the way across, kind of like a mountain top. See if I can bring this in. Is it focusing? I think it is not focusing. Okay, now I'm going to repeat this process again without talking. I'm just going to let you watch, and then we leave you to get your wrapping done. We're going to go all the way across and give ourselves some wire at the end. So here we go. I'm not even holding that for you to see it. So here we go. So go ahead and do that all the way across. Okay, I have made my way all the way across in that weave pattern. And I also did one with copper 28 gauge wire, thinking perhaps you could see that pattern better. Deal with these little 28 gauge wire ends, and I'm just going to place this in between two of the wires and just tighten that up. And now what we need to do is cut this flush so that you can't feel anything once it's cut off. And make sure that you have it flush enough that you can't feel anything. And then repeat that on this other side. Just tucking that down in. And bringing it up. Tighten everything. And then cut this piece off. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is even up my ends here. I'm just going to snip them off even. It really doesn't matter how long these are. It's, you know, up to you. I think I'll trim mine down a bit. And watch your eyes. I seem to have wire flying everywhere. Now let's turn this around and do the same thing. Just giving these a little trim and evening them out. Okay. Now let's separate these wires out. And file your ends. File all three ends, turn it around, separate these, and file these. Now let's place one of our beads onto one of the wires. Now we're just going to coil this wire downward, and just a loose coil, or however you want to do it. Just go ahead and get that coiled. Okay. Now let's place on another bead. And coil this wire down in the same direction. Now, I just kind of let my coils do what they do, but if you would prefer your coils to be exactly the same, then just go ahead and pay attention to how they're coiling, and you can get them pretty much the same. And our last bead for this side, and coil it down. So there we go. Now let's turn this around to the other side and do the same thing, so that now when we coil on this side, it's going to be going in the opposite direction of the coils on this side. So these coil this way, these will coil this way. So let's go ahead and get that done. So go ahead and do a bead and a coil on your last two wires. There we go. And I forgot to say that we need to wrap this around something. And it doesn't matter what you wrap it around, but wrap it around an object that is close to the size that you want your coil to be, the part where you put your hair. I'm going to use a Sharpie because that's what I happen to have right this minute. And we're just going to hold on to this. Now, if you're using crystals, don't press really tight on those crystals because they will break. I've broken many of them. Now let's just coil this around so that we have a place for our hair to fit. Don't pay attention to what these ends are doing. They will do weird things, but we will fix that. Okay, so here we go. Now these are being kind of silly, and for me it always happens. Maybe it won't for you. But with wire, we can do whatever we want. So let's go ahead and adjust it. Sorry about my voice allergies. They just don't seem to leave me alone. And let's repair any damage we've done here. Coil these back up. Make sure they are positioned the way we want them. And I'm just using a nylon plier. You can use chain nose, as long as you're careful and don't scratch your wire. But there we go. Very quick and easy. Sweet little hair jewelry. And it really does look quite pretty in your hair. So I will take pictures of that. Now you can wear this in your hair without doing anything to your hair, or you can braid your hair and slide this on, or if you have dreadlocks, it's perfect for that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.